In the 2000s, if you went to the movies, you would see the same couple comedy actors over and over again. You would see Will Ferrell, Jack Black, Paul Rudd. The list goes on and on. But if you look 20 years later, in current day, you know who we're seeing? Jack Black, Paul Rudd, Will Ferrell. Why hasn't it changed? Why aren't there any new movie stars coming up recently? Why have we had the same names for the past, I don't even know how many years at this point. Like, how many movies are we gonna have where Jack Black's the main character? He's 50. He shouldn't be playing half of these characters he's playing. A recent movie I watched was Anaconda, and that's where the issue was really apparent to me. Studios were relying on old actors way too much. A much younger cast would have helped the movie so much more. I mean, they needed Paul Rudd and Jack Black, or else the movie would have flopped. It's not really that interesting of an idea. It's not a sequel. There's no hype built around it. Realistically, it's all just Jack Black and Paul Rudd carrying it, but that's kind of the whole problem. Now, you might be like, okay, what about Pete Davidson? He's a good actor and he's new. Well, obviously there's some exceptions, but even though Pete Davidson is an exception and he is a good new comedy actor, he's not a Steve Carell or a Will Ferrell or anybody I mentioned before. He's just not. I'm not saying he's bad, he's just not on that level. Now, you might be wondering, why is this happening? Well, firstly, we need to address the big dog, streaming. Now more than ever, movies need to perform well, because if they don't, not only will the box office feel a hit, but also the streaming site it ends up on. This contrasts heavily with the 2000s, where box office numbers were always pretty much really high, and movies always at least broke even. Because of that, companies could take a way larger risk, which means hiring new comedy actors instead of just taking the same comedy actors every single time. But there's one main underlying issue, and that's just that there are fewer comedy movies coming out. If you think about it, every year there's maybe 1 or 2 comedy movies that come out. If you think about it in the past, at least like 5 or 6 would come out in 1 year. And obviously the correlation between fewer comedy movies and fewer new comedy actors is pretty obvious. If there's less comedy movies, there's less chances for those actors to break out. But this might have you asking, why are there less comedy movies? And there's one reason why comedy movies are just made less now, and that's because of Marvel. Now, you might be asking, why Marvel? What does it have to do with comedy movies? And it's simple, because Marvel opened people's eyes to how much more reliable something can be if it's part of a franchise. If you notice, before Marvel, there were way more one-off movies that weren't connected to anything already existing, or weren't adaptations of something else. But if you look at movies coming out now, especially looking ahead to 2026, almost all of them are franchise movies, or they're from really well-known directors. Let's list a few, okay? Avengers, obviously it's Marvel, one of the biggest franchises ever. Dune 3, adaptation, it's a sequel, like come on now, it writes itself. The Odyssey, okay, now the Odyssey's like special because it's an adaptation, but it's also from Christopher Nolan, which is one of the biggest directors ever, and everybody knows who Christopher Nolan is. But even if you look at Christopher Nolan's discography and you go through it, you see that his earlier works, like Memento and Inception, are like more original. I mean, his newer works are obviously original, but Memento and Inception and stuff like that are more original and more like not so based on a franchise or adaptation. Unlike recently with Oppenheimer or the Odyssey, they aren't bad, but I feel like he's playing it more safe than he usually would. Anyways, back on topic, all of this leads back to the same issue. Studios don't want to take a risk anymore. Comedy movies aren't reliable franchises, so fewer of them get made. Fewer new comedy actors get the chance to break out, so studios just keep on going back to the same names over and over again. That's why you keep on seeing Jack Black and Paul Rudd. They can't get new actors because they don't want to take risks, because you can't have a franchise. Yes, if they had a franchise, maybe in the 3rd or 4th movie you could take a risk with a new person because you know it's gonna do good because it's a franchise, right? But since it's a one-off movie, taking risks isn't really usually the go-to plan. You're probably gonna lose money in the box office. Now, if you agree with what I laid out here, then comment that in the comment section. But if you think that maybe this generation is just less gifted and less funny, honestly, that could be it too. And I'm not gonna act like that's not a possibility. Now, this video took a long time to make, so please like and subscribe. I put a lot of work into this video, so it would mean a lot to me. And thank you guys for 400 subscribers. Like, that's crazy. I can't believe we hit that after like 2 years. All right, thank you guys so much, and peace out.